Here we can say that there are basically two ways that systems of spirituality look upon the idea of ego, soul, spiritual ego, transformation, and so forth. In general, spiritual schools would either subscribe to a path of transformation or to a path of basically a little bit waiting it out, which you could argue is that a path in the first place. But it's, let's say there is a consideration of just saying, well, you can anyways in this life not really manage to become super duper perfect. So if you start trying to become super duper perfect, you will just get tempted to think of yourself as super duper perfect even though you're not. So maybe you just let the big universe be as glorious and perfect as it is, and just be humble and, you know, gather some good merits in this life and be done with it. This is usually in more, let's say, bigger spiritual groups. This is usually how it is handled. Bigger religions and so forth, they usually go about it this way. Because the problem is, when you start to put yourself onto the path of transformation, you will encounter the, let's say, results of friction of transformation. When you try to renew yourself, when you grow beyond the limits of your current being, you will necessarily have some dust and some dirt around that. In German we say, if you are working with wood, you will have wood dust. It's inevitable. If you work on yourself, if you grind out some aspects of your being, there will be stuff coming up. And the spiritual ego is basically a way that your ego, your limited personality, is trying to still somehow remain in charge even when you start grinding on yourself. So the structure of the ego that sees yourself as a limited entity, as a limited being, aims to sort of hide in whatever corner you leave within your being. For it to hide in, it will try to hide. If you leave any little spot of possibility for shadow where the little ego can hide, then it will hide right there. And the more you grow and gain spiritual merit, and that ego still has some spot to sit somewhere and make comments and have you act on its behalf, the more powerful the ego really grows. Because as much as it is sort of on some sort of suicide mission there, where it's just trying to survive somehow the transformations that you're putting it through, when it can get hold of you, it will have you with all the powers that you gained through spiritual practice, at least the ones that are interested for the ego. So the spiritual ego is basically a manifestation of an ego that has survived spiritual practice, which typically will happen when our spiritual practice is either A, not thorough enough, or B, not really alive. When it doesn't have heart in it, when not our whole being is invested into our spiritual practice, then it will be easy to have little gaps and little shady parts where the ego can survive within. So when you choose the path of transformation, you will need to have an adequate speed, and you will need to have a teacher, a master, somebody, a guide, a spiritual guide, that can, somebody that can lead you along the path and make sure that you don't get stuck within the realms of the spiritual ego at first, which, by the way, the spiritual ego doesn't survive for very long. It's there for the first 4 stages of the path, and that's basically it. After that, you can still have huge tests and temptations, but it will be out of the realm of the ego, which will be even worse. So for sure you will need a guide, a master at that point. So if you want to transform and not fall prey of the spiritual ego, then the only way to do that is to have a very clear and efficient spiritual practice that is alive, that is rising from your heart, and that is in alignment with the pointers that your teachers, your masters are giving to you. And then you stick with that until that ego is gone, and you don't stop before, and you don't start questioning before. In India, they have a very smart system about this. You take your 9 month, you check your master, you test him in all the possible ways, or her, and question in all different ways, and put out all your doubts. And then once after that period of time it is clear that this is your master, you follow them no matter what. The traditional indication is you stay 12 years with them to fully assimilate all that they can offer you and they can teach you. So that would be a smart way to go about it. But if you are not into that sort of thing just yet, then at least practice with a lot of heart. Practice from the depth of your being, and not like some robot doing some mechanical stuff that will for sure just feed the limits and shadows within your being. Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.
Thank you.